for the growth and prosperity of India lies in the transformation of the banking and financial sectors. To discuss the future prospects of India in banking and financial services, Airtel Business BFSI Summit was held recently in Mumbai. After the opening address, it was time for the first panel discussion, which was on new age banking in India. Moving forward, the next panel discussion was on insurance in the technology-enabled era, where the expectations from the insurance sector was to kickstart the infrastructure revival that needed extremely long tenure finance. The session was moderated by Mini Menon, Executive Editor, Bloomberg TV India.
Sanjay, reaching out to the last person and reaching out where it is needed most, that's the biggest challenge insurance faces. How is technology changing the game, and what is the trend that you see over there?
Well, if you look at insurance, there are a lot of constraints. I think only successful was Pradhan Mantri Jivan Bima Yojana, which is actually forced the banks to sell. That's why it has reached to that kind of numbers. But still, it is still a loss-making product for most of the insurers. But apart from that, none of the other products really reached there, because insurance as a product is always said that it is sold rather than bought. That's a bigger difference, because nobody thinks they require insurance. That's the first thing, and they require some kind of advice to buy. And as you go down the pyramid, they've got a lot of other challenges that point of time for the money. So the long-term savings or long-term like plan B never takes into priority for people. It's a people mindset issue, first of all. Second is that distribution cost becomes very higher. So technology has really helped to push certain kind of product. Like I'll just give an example. When we launched our Click to Protect 3 years back, so the advantage is like, we are restricted by 500 branches. But with product available online, I'm just restricted by the medical center. So if I can tie up with 3,000 medical center, my product is available in 3,000, whatever the 3,000 medical center can cover those cities. So we saw people buying from different parts where my branches are not there.
Adhil, what is your experience running one of the most popular online platforms for financial services? How has technology changed the way people look at a segment, special segment like insurance?
Right. So just picking up where Sanjay left, I think we've seen a tremendous comfortable doing e-commerce online, comfortable doing travel online, have now started thinking, why not access financial services online too? So the kind of uptake we've seen, right, is that literally numbers going up 3-4x every year, and from a small base growing very rapidly and disrupting the market. Now the key reason we're able to do this is we're working on digitizing the end-to-end supply chain. I think the key to this is a mobile phone and a paperless transaction. If we can ensure that people can access on the mobile phone, and today we're seeing 40% of traffic to be mobile. 18 months ago, it was 10%. Everyone knows for a fact that by March of this year, 50% of transactions are going to be mobile. That if we can give them a full digital supply chain, the government has made e-sign available, wherein you can digitally sign documents without a wet signature. The government has made e-Aadhaar available, wherein you don't need to pick up KYC. I think what's really exciting is with the mobile phone and a fully digital supply chain, you've truly democratized sales. You don't need a physical individual to physically collect documents. And that, I believe, will truly disrupt what's happening in the market.
Okay, Sanjeev, do you see that already happening? From ICICI Lombard's point of view, how much of what you do is online? Because as Adhil was saying, the statistics show that most of the insurance buying happens online, and data shows that 75% is going to be online anyway by 2020. So how are you seeing that transition?
For a country like India, I don't think driving it through technology is a strategic requirement, it's a necessity. The cost of distribution is so significantly high that if we don't enroll them, we'll have a significant challenge coming through. And also one more aspect which becomes very critical is when we talk about mobility, which is one of the key things that we are talking about at this point of time. We did a recent survey and the findings were very alarming. We did in metro as well as non-metro cities. Surprisingly, the inquiries in both were pretty high, almost 75 to 80%. So I must say there's a clear set of customers who still inquire online, but probably end up buying still offline. But having said that, the non-metros, the percentage was much higher than the metro cities. On the health side in particular, if we had a statistics which said that 45% of them end up buying in non-metro, the health insurance on an online mode. On the metro side, we saw that percentage dropping to 25%. It's also a question of access available. Clearly the conclusion that also came from that particular survey was the channel being relatively lower available in those areas, in the hinterlands probably, people are more comfortable picking up online as a platform. So,
which is interesting, but I want to ask you, a lot of your business comes from renewals. How much of the renewals come online? Because I'm presuming that would be the low-hanging fruit for you.
yeah, so clearly we have been able to drive traffic in a big way, like travel, which is non-renewal, definitely happens. 60% of the transaction on travel happens online. People want to pick up on the tab. The ticketing itself has changed. That also has helped how people pick up insurance. If you're talking about the car insurance coming online, we have seen a growth which has been phenomenal. And that is what has kept us investing.
So you said technology has really addressed that,
100%.
that piece. Anant, I want to get you in here. You know, I think Sanjay made a very, very valid point and laid out the challenges. The challenges are cost of distribution. Sanjeev has already indicated how that's moved, and Adhil has also indicated how that has moved.
Yep.
Second is reaching the last mile, you know, and really penetrating. The third is getting vernacular in, which is, I think, a very, very big challenge. How can mobile technology change that? Because a lot of the outreach can happen through telephony.
Sure. In fact, 2-3 things, which Sanjay talked about was, the cost of distribution, being able to serve profitably, things like KYC, and so and so. So I think if you really look at how telecom has moved in this country currently, I think we have 880 million already customers, already KYC. There is a distribution mechanism which exists. I think possibly it's a time where both these industries can, co-create. Both are regulated. I mean, we have TRAI, they have IRDA. Yes, I mean, both are regulated, both can come together. And I think really kind of influence the regulator in terms of the need for scale and to be able to reach out to the last mile. And if you really ask me, I think mobility with these classical payment systems which have come today, of these digital wallets and stuff like this.
Sure.
So the entire fulfillment, can actually happen and take off this distribution middleman layer completely.
I think there are two very interesting points out of this, and I want to get everybody's view on this. One is the scale, and I think telecom is a great example, Sanjay, where scale and the multiplicity of the catchment area induced or encouraged the telecom companies to look at different products at different touch points at different costs. Insurance still is a very regulated sector, and you don't have the multiplicity of choices. Is the answer to really customize products for different touch points or different categories, and is that somewhere where insurance has failed, perhaps?
In India, nobody has got care kind of product. So we are the first company this year launched something called Cancer Care. There's no past record. So everybody said there is no demand because people are not buying health policies, they don't buy critical illness covers, why should they buy a cancer cover? So we made it very simple, very mobile friendly. And interestingly, this is the first product we give our distribution team a small app which takes only 3 minutes to sell this product. So I've got only 8 questions. All ticked no. If you tick yes, you will not get the policy. And there is no medical. And you just have to put customer data. That's the time it takes. And it is available online. So the Cancer Care, which is not unheard of, nobody knows about the product. Because there's a latent demand, what we call as in a marketing term, long tail of products. So we got one of the long tails which has got specific sub-segment, but we sold 50,000 policies within 100 days of the launch. I think this is probably the most successful product launched by any private life insurance companies, because I've not heard any other product sold 50,000 policies within 100 days. So there is an opportunity with mobile and technology coming in, which you can make easy to buy. You can actually do, as we said, pull out KYC from a telecom company or Aadhaar database, or do a PAN from NSDL, and do all the validation, and your probably is customer records, and it can immediately you can issue the policy. So if that kind of products will keep coming, I think there's a huge amount of opportunities available.
I'm talking about fungibility, Sanjeev. Between the KYC norms of telecom and of insurance, there are two different pieces and two different regulators who approach it differently. Mm-hmm. Is it as easy as one can possibly make it, and what are the constraints on the ground?
Well, yes, today I think banking for that matter will have by far the most stringent KYC norms. I mean, probably telecom will come close to that, but slightly at a notch below. Yep. On the life side, definitely where investments are involved in a big way, they have a very strict KYC norm. On general insurance, I think the basic penetration itself being a challenge, I think we are used to operate in a KYC norm which is not as strict, and quite rightly so. It is not that the policy is not evolving where they'll make things stricter and stricter. The connected world where the bureau, the telecom industry, the banking sector, all of it combines, and there's a common database which can be shared, and you've got Aadhaar on top of it, which has covered virtually bulk of our population. We are talking of a truly automated world. And now with Jan Dhan coming in place, which was spoken some time back, we've got people who are by and large connected with platforms which are all driven by technology.
Sure.
We do see a significant transformation coming in next 2 to 3 years. With respect to general insurance, again, the basic challenge that we face when it comes to mobility also is this business fundamentally gets driven by the fact that you come at a point of time when the sale is being done, and then the moment of truth comes when there's a claim that comes in place. And then in between there can be stretches of periods where there's no interaction that happens. And with the database of the customer, let's face it, today also most of the insurance in this country is sold, even probably globally, almost 85 to 90% through agents, dealers, partners, brokers. They are the ones who drive this business. So the customer connect has to get created irrespective of whether it comes with a KYC norm. I believe each one of us will have to strengthen our own database and ensure that our connectivity increases.
Adhil, you have a great sense of gauging how the demand is progressing and what the trends are. What are the trends that you see when you look at the data from your online platform?
Right. So I think, from Sanjeev's and Sanjay's side, they've built great products, right? The long-term two-wheeler product, the eye cancer product. I think from our side, what we are seeing, right, is how do you deliver this product in a mobile-specific world, right? So when you design for a mobile, the product is actually very different than when you design from a desktop.
Okay.
So the product from a manufacturer's perspective is the same, but for a user, right, how do you take a complex product that's hard to understand, that has, like Sanjay was saying, in certain cases 50 questions, in certain cases more, and deliver that on a mobile app, right? And I was just discussing with Sanjeev earlier, how do you get the person to retain the mobile app, right? Because he's making a purchase maybe once a year, paying a premium a year. How do we build a relationship wherein that mobile phone, right, can be the starting point of all transactions? So I think what we're seeing, at least in the digital consumer space, is if you can build first for mobile, if you can take a complex, great product and make it so simple that a person without aid can actually consume, you've actually cracked it. And that point in time, the consumer with your app is trusting you with what happens next. So we believe that is really the core to capturing the consumer mindset.
Isn't that easier for an amalgamator rather than an insurance company? And Anant, telecom has had a longer stint at doing this. You can argue the same thing with telecom, right?
Correct.
You have a relationship which is in a post-paid thing where you have only a monthly bill. How do you engage enough with the customer to get the stickiness organized?
We were to look at two parts. The postpaid part, I think, is, it's given, you really have 3-4 moments of truth. You get your bill, you pay your bill, you have your credit limits, and so on and so forth. Then comes the other category, which is the mass category, which is a challenge actually. Postpaid normally is an urban phenomena where you're in a contract and stuff like this. You judge creditworthiness. The prepaid part of it, which is 95% of the country, even there, for example, you have recharge apps and stuff like this, which people use it 4 times, I think so the entire, challenge is how do you kind of, marry both of them, an insurance is lying over, something which he does 4 times, a month, and kind of, build a kind of a case of stickiness and stuff like this,
You have a challenge of reaching out, the cost of reaching out, and that's where we started it, Sajay. But you also have a network that is penetrated deep into India like nothing else, which is the mobile telephony. How do you plug in to the connection that telecom has already made? And what are the challenges and what is the coming together that you see in this?
Well, I see a coming together with all the telecom operator, payment banks, and all the operator, all the e-commerce company going forward in 2 to 3 years time, where they will be selling algorithm-based, very simple product, which is basically targeted towards that person. It is like Adhil comes there, doing some transaction or like booking a ticket. He says like, hey, you don't have a term policy, like, can you take a term cover? This is like, this company, if Adhil will give advertisement, he'll say this company gives you the best offer. I'll say that, please buy from me, this is the offer for you. And he takes, yes, all the other data from Adhil's source or from other sources, I just pick up as per, he just take my data from these 3 sources, he just takes it, all the data is there. So he clicks it and, the money got transferred from the Paytm wallet or the other wallet which is available. So that's what my view is, what will change in 3 to 4 years time. That will make this mobile-based sales far reaching and, reaching not only to the masses, but also to really sell different segment of the product. Like the Tom because of online, Tom actually got sold. I believe a lot of the other categories which are currently not selling, something like a critical illness product.
So you really see technology and the plugging in of mobility and insurance being the game changer.
It will happen sooner than later. It will just a matter of, it's just a regulatory will. See, currently it is not, frankly speaking, we are all talking, but it has just stopped because of the regulatory will. Once the regulator will say this kind of combination is available, or you can really you can partner together, I think this will be a game changer.
Bank Bazaar plays a very big role in this, Adhil, because you are the amalgamator, and using technology. What are the constraints that you see to this happening?
So I think it's a complex transaction, right? And like Sanjay was saying earlier, I think we just need a paperless ecosystem, right? You bought things on your phone. We can pre-fill a ton of data from Aadhaar, from your banking relationships, from the products you've already consumed. Can we really make it easy that someone with a basic education can pull out their phone, open their app, clearly understand what they're trying to do, and actually consummate that transaction in a paperless fashion, right? If we are able to deliver that kind of service, I truly think we would have done away with the need for multiple branches, multiple kiosks, and we genuinely would have democratized finance, wherein we'll really see a disruption, wherein that mobile phone and that convenience is going to be all you need to reach the last mile.
Okay. Anant, you alluded to sitting together of regulators. What is the collaboration that you see between telecom infrastructure providers and telecom companies and insurance companies?
In fact, I was just speaking to Sanjay, before this, and we were kind of sharing notes about saying, how are both of them? So, and I was talking about scale. With the scale of when you pump in, 4 or 5 crore documents, to the regulator, when you keep on changing products, on the corridors, we have soft products, unlike them, So, like for us, when you change a product like them, you submit your change to the regulator, and with this side now, what's happened is 5 days. If you don't get a response, it's taken as cleared. While in their situation, it may be 3 months or whatever. So I think, that's a kind of a sharing where one can really get people to talk about saying if we were to go into that scale. That's a kind of a collaboration, co-creation we can do. And in fact, also I think what's important is to appreciate that I was talking about this digital kind of fulfillment centers. So amongst the telcos, they're existing already. Tons of paper from villages today penetration is happening in villages where population of less than 2,000. It flows from there to more sophisticated data centers to the, law enforcing bodies, and also all that is there, That's also one kind of an infrastructure which can be shared, to make it affordable. As Adhil was making out, saying what are the products which we've already consumed? Can you pick from there? So all that I think, the need is actually, for some will to come in, get all together and make it a winning combination.
Sanjay, I'm going to ask you to have the concluding piece on this. We've touched upon various aspects. I think collaboration, disruption that technology can offer, the last mile connectivity that telecoms can offer. What about the product? How does this
because he's making a purchase maybe
one new opportunity have to or force you to rethink the way you look at products, the way you develop products, and what are the biggest constraints that you see there?
I think clearly from our perspective, if you look at it, the telecom revolution has been one of the most significant things, and we all sitting here will have to acknowledge that the way they have reached out to the last mile is something which is unmatched and unparalleled, and a lesson for all of us. Having said that, what is getting created is an overlay on the base of what has been put across by the telecom industry. We truly believe that today the consumer himself doesn't know what he wants, and there's a critical thing which came from Apple, where Steve Jobs used to keep saying, my consumer doesn't know what he wants, I will tell them what he wants and he'll end up picking up. I think we all in our respective industry are working towards that. There's significant amount of co-creation that will come in place, but clearly we as a company would be not relevant if we don't keep pace with it. It's a necessity which drives us at this point of time. It's a necessity which drives each one of us as consumers at many points of time to get as digital as possible, because there is unmatched, you can say, convenience that can be seen at this point of time. From the insurance perspective, I have to put it in very clear terms. I think we would be in investment mode for next few years, and the transformation is for real. How much can we keep up to it or go beyond it in terms of in this journey will be the one which will be the defining moment for each one of us.
And that will depend on collaboration and co-creation.
Yeah. Yes. Also, I think, I think the need of this, possibly the hour is, for both of us to, kind of collaborate like never before. Really look at beyond profit from premiums and loss ratios, and look at a scale in a very different way, from 8% to an 80%. Yeah, I mean, so somewhere look at it and saying, what's that way to profitably serve, customers who pay you less than 100 rupees, a month and stuff like this. And I think scale has the answer. We also used to sell at 16 rupees a minute and used to say, the cost of producing a minute is 12 rupees, to now that we actually produce at half a cent and we sell at a cent.
And look at the value add that you can add on with that,
it's the same technology, everything, just the scale.
So are we at an inflection point, Sanjay?
I think so, because I think the payment banks will really change the game, because payment banks are allowed to sell insurance. So that will really put a lot of pressure on the existing distribution network, because they will attack where we call that, the LIC's last bastion is the agent network in the smaller cities kind of thing, and the SEC DE kind of segment, because the SEC AB everybody is actually attacking, and bigger cities everyone is reaching out. But that's what is, I believe that will be the game changer. And people like us, so today there is only one bank bazaar and one policy bazaar. Sir, at least 10 guys are talking now because there are funding available, because there was no money available. I think all those people will bring a lot of awareness which is currently missing about what is the best product. I think together the digital invasion of a player like him and mobile and the ecosystem which is getting created by payment bank, I think that will really change.
Is payment bank a threat to you?
They're a new partner for us, right? Because I think...
I had to ask you that question.
They're a new partner for us. They reach out to a segment which is going to help the underserved, and we'll help them go to market. So partnership.
That's a safe answer, Adhil. Thanks so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us on this discussion.